just changed.
There was a story about the phone rang and the church secretary answered it, and the person said, "Is the head hog at the trough there?" And the secretary said, do you mean the minister? And he said, "Yeah." So then she lectured him. She said, "You should not talk disrespectfully about the minister. You should call him the pastor or reverend." And then she thought, I better ask this man what he wants. She said, "Well, why were you calling?" After she lectured him, he said, "Well, I wanted to give $100,000 to the building fund." She said, "Just a minute, the big pig just walked in." Well, some Bible stories. Do you know what Boaz was before he married Ruth? He was ruthless. I really like that Bible story about the guy who loafs and fishes. Okay, well, I think the Bible stories are still true today because, you know, Lot's wife, she turned around and she turned into a pillar of salt. I was driving last week and I turned around and I did. I turned around and then I turned into a telephone pole. and then my husband says, "And that's the truth." Well, no one in my family suffered from insanity. We all enjoyed it. Okay, this is a repeat of a joke we already told. What do you know about that? There was a lady, and of course it wasn't me, but she had a problem. Every time she went to the store, she came home with a hat. Now her husband said, "Now no more buying, you just go look, but don't buy." And she came home with this hat. And he was not happy, so he said, "I told you what to do when you get tempted to buy another hat." And she said, "I know, you told me to say, 'Get behind me, Satan.'" And he said, "Well," and she said, "I did that. I put this hat on and I said, 'Get behind me, Satan.' And he said it looked great from the back too." Well, I'm sure you probably haven't heard snoring in church, but one child saw a lady snoring, heard a lady snoring, and she said, "Mama, she's praying through her nose." And then I had to say to my friend, "Did you hear Simmons snoring in church this morning?" And she said, "No." And I said, "Well, I did. He woke me up." And I'd like to say that every church, I think, needs a man who walks up and down the aisle with a big stick, and if he finds anybody sleeping, he should go and poke the pastor. Well, a lady was coming out of church, and the pastor knew she was getting up in years, and he said, "Now, I think you better start thinking about the hereafter. I think you've heard this." And she said, "Oh, Pastor, I do every day. I go upstairs and I say, 'Now, what am I hereafter?'" They built a brand new, gorgeous church, and the pastor was looking at it. He was showing it to someone who was in his church, and he said, "Look at this beautiful new building." He said, "They have even put a plaque up here for the men and women who died in the service." And the simpleton that was with him said, "Was it the morning or the evening service?" Well, these three Lutheran pastors got together for lunch, and they found out that they each had the same problem. There were bats infesting their church. So the first one said, "You know, I got so mad I just got a shotgun, but all I did was put holes in the ceiling." The second one said, you know what I did? I trapped them alive. I drove 50 miles away, let them out. They got back to the church before me. And the third pastor said, well, you know what? He said, I baptized and confirmed them, and I haven't seen them since. Well, one pastor, his church said, now we don't like when you're using all those notes, so he put some notes inside his coat and he started his sermon, and I mean, he was trying to do what the people wanted. And he said, today I'm going to preach about 3 men from the Old Testament, Moses and Noah and J.C. Penney. Oh, this one pastor, he was so funny. He said, at the end of the service, we're going to have a short deacons meeting. And then he smiled and said, the tall deacons are meeting on Monday. Now that's a sense of humor, isn't it? So, whoa, this one pastor, he had his 50th birthday. And so his congregation bought him a brand new suit. So the next Sunday he got up and he said, I'm preaching to you in my birthday suit. One lady said, Pastor, you know, she's walking out of church, Pastor, you just don't know how much your sermons have meant to my husband since he lost his mind. It probably really happened. I don't know. But anyway, we had to have a light bulb joke. How many Lutherans does it take to change a light bulb at the church? It takes 2. One takes out the burnt bulb, puts in the new one. The other one says, you can't get rid of that. My uncle gave that to the church 20 years ago. Finally, she went and got her Bible. She said, honey, you are supposed to make the morning coffee. Look here, it's on a whole bunch of pages. Hebrews. Well, I said to my friend, did you see Mrs. Smith's new dress at church this morning? She said, no. I said, did you see Mrs. Jones' new hat at church? She said, no. I said, well, a lot of good it does you to go to church. Well, I asked my friend the secret of her long marriage, and she said, we never go to bed angry. She said, so far, the longest we've had to stay awake is 5 days. Well, I happened to be in Arkansas one Christmas, and I noticed that every nativity scene out on the lawns, the 3 wise men were wearing fireman hats. And so I went to the parsonage and knocked on the door, and I said, you know, it doesn't make any sense to me. I'm from Missouri, and I don't know why the wise men are wearing fireman hats. And the minister said, well, we go right by the Word of God. We went and got his Bible, and we came back, and he said, it says in the Word that the 3 wise men came from afar.